Doug, why the long face?
I don't know. I'm just enjoying my coffee, but this donut isn't really what I wanted, to be honest.
You know, I recently saw a really great recipe for coffee cake.
Coffee cake? Yes, it's true. July's take and bake is the coffee cake, one of my favorite breakfast desserts. I'm going to show you how to make it right now. Let's begin. We're going to start off with our streusel. We have 1.5 cups of pecans, a third a cup brown and white sugar individually, 1 teaspoon cinnamon, a little bit of salt, about an eighth of a teaspoon or so, and then most importantly, 3 tablespoons melted butter. And then we mix it all up. We want to get this nice, even, well-mixed, crumbly consistency. So we'll set our streusel aside and start our cake. We've got just shy of 2 cups flour, about 1 7/8, just a bit less than 2. We're going to continue onward with half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon baking soda. I'm gonna mix it all up and prepare the wet ingredients. But before we begin, I wanted to say, get a bigger bowl than I did. You're going to be pouring the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients, and I used a tiny bowl for the wet, and I had to put them in a bigger bowl. So use a big bowl. So in another bowl here, we're starting off with a cup of sugar, followed up by half a cup, aka 1 stick of melted butter. Delicious. Get that mixed up here a little bit. Get it ready for our eggs. We're going to put 2 eggs in this, one at a time. There's egg 1. We'll mix it up a little bit. And then egg number 2. Get that all mixed up. And then we're going to do a little bit of sour cream. Bloop, 1 cup. And then 1.5 teaspoons vanilla. And then get that all mixed up and ready. And now we're going to incorporate the dry ingredients into the wet a little bit at a time. Just pour a little dry in there and just barely kind of get it incorporated. Start pouring in more. We don't want to overmix this to keep it moist and fluffy. We want the flour to just barely be absorbed. We don't want to overmix this. Very important. So just get it incorporated. So what I have here is a 9 by 13 baking dish that I've buttered and put a little parchment paper down at the bottom. Totally optional. You don't need to do this. I just tend to do it. And what we do here is we take about half of our dough and we go ahead and scrape it out. And there's no good way to do this, unfortunately. The dough is very sticky and very thick, as you'll find out. It is not easy to work with. This step takes a really long time and it may not be pretty. So we're doing about half of your total mixture here. Try to get it relatively even as best as you can, but it doesn't need to be perfect. And once you have half of the batter spread out, we're going to do half of our streusel mixture that we made earlier. So we're going to go ahead and pour that onto our batter as evenly as possible. Try to get it nice and spread out. And once it's all evenly distributed as best as you can, once again, doesn't need to be perfect, just pat it gently into the dough. And the final step here is to put the rest of the batter on top of our streusel mixture and coat it evenly to create, 2 layers. And this is easier said than done. As you can see here, I'm choosing to use the little dollop technique where you make kind of different little blobs and try to spread those down individually. But I can't stress how difficult this is. It is not going to be easy or beautiful. Everything is super sticky, and you're going to get little bits of brown sugar kind of sticking in the dough. It's not a big deal because you're going to cover the whole thing with more streusel anyway. So just kind of do the best you can to get it relatively even. And once you're done wrestling with the batter, it's time to put the rest of the streusel on top. And you can cover all your little imperfections and holes with plenty of streusel, which is my technique right here. Just give it a nice even coating, and once again, pat it gently into the batter when you're done. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and put it into the center of our 350-degree oven. Set the timer for about 30 minutes, but as always when you're baking, and especially with this coffee cake because it can tend to get dry if you overbake it, please check it quite regularly with a toothpick in the center, maybe starting at about 20 to 25 minutes. As you can see here, this one is looking great. And after that, you're set. Your coffee cake is ready for some coffee, or if you're not a purist, maybe some tea. Thank you so much and happy baking.